All right, welcome to video number 3 of the ACT test prep. This is form 1874, which is the 2020-2021 test prep number 1, or practice test number 1. And you can take a look at the bottom. There is a link, act.org. Right, I posted a link to this in the description that is linked below this video. So you can go there to find these questions and the answer key, as well as some other tests that I will eventually be completing at a later date. Okay, so let's start off with problem number 21, okay? And if you're looking for the other questions, 1 through 20, they are in other videos that are also a part of the same playlist that this one's in, right? So you can navigate to those as well, which will be linked at the end of this video, okay? So this one's problem number 21 is saying that Laura is painting an 8-foot rectangular wall in her room. And if you read along, it says 2 of the walls are 10 feet and 2 walls are 15 feet, right? So again, I like to draw myself a picture. So let's start off with a wall that is 8 feet tall and 10 feet wide, right? And then there's another wall that is instead 8 feet by 15, right? So if I multiply together to find the area of a rectangle, we just multiply length times width. 8 times 10 makes 80 square feet. 8 times 15 makes 120 square feet. Okay, but we have to forget that there's 2 walls, right? So I'm going to have another 80 square foot wall and another 120 square foot wall, right? So if I add all this up, right, if I go to my calculator, okay, let's bring that up. Okay, it looks like, okay, I have 80 plus 80 plus 120 plus 120, right? And then we have to not forget, okay, looking at the question, that there is a combined area for 1 window and 1 door that is 60 square feet. So from that total area, I'm not going to paint the door and the window. So I'm going to subtract off 60, and we get a grand total of 340 square feet, which is choice letter B. Okay? All right, next problem. Okay? So now we're going to say the length of a rectangle is 5 inches longer than the width. So I'm going to start off in this one by, again, drawing myself a rectangle, right? And I know that whenever I'm doing perimeter, I'm going to do length and length and width, right? Which you might switch these, it really doesn't matter, right? 2 lengths and 2 widths, okay? If I wanted to find the perimeter, then I'm going to say I have to do width, we'll just say W plus L plus L, right? And if I combine this, it's 2W plus 2L, right? So this is how I would find, okay, the perimeter of a rectangle, okay? But they do tell us up here that the length, instead of calling it L, is actually 5 inches longer than the width, right? So if I'm going to call the width just regular old W, right, I'm going to say that the length is W plus 5, right? This is the length, okay? So if I take this information and I plug it into this perimeter formula, I'm going to write W's for my width, so I'm not going to change that one. But I am going to replace my length with W plus 5. So this one's going to say 2 times W plus 5, okay? And then we actually know from up here what the perimeter is. It's 40, so I'm also going to plug that in. So this is I'm going to come down here and say that this is going to be 40, okay? So if I simplify this, here's what I got. Okay, this is 2W plus 2W, and because I'm distributing, we'll get a 10 is equal to 40. That makes 4W plus 10 to get 40, okay? If I subtract 10 from both sides, okay, I find out that 4W is equal to 30, okay? And then I can go back to my calculator to do this because it is giving my answers as a decimal. There's no sense in, doing the division yourself. So we're going to say, 30 divided by 4, okay? 7.5, okay? So if I do that, I'm going to say W, the width, is equal to 7.5, okay? So if you notice, 7.5 is an answer up here. Let's make sure it's the one that we want, though. So when we go back to the original question, it says, what is the width of the rectangle? Okay, we just found W, and that's 7.5. That's going to be our answer, right? So you have to be careful on some of these. If they were to say, what's the length, I might need to plug that in here, right, and add 7.5 and 5, right, as an answer as well. So be careful that you answer the question instead of just getting to W, okay? Okay, problem number 23. It says 8% of 60 is 1/5 of what number, right? So anytime we have these problems with is and of and percent, what I typically set up is immediately is over of is equal to percent, okay, over 100, okay? And this is actually a 2-part problem because the first part is 8% of 60 is something, and then the second part is that something is 1/5 of what number. So it's kind of two in one. All right, so let's start off with this first part. It says 8%. So where the percent is, I'm going to put an 8. Okay. And it says of 60. So on the bottom of this where it says of, I'm going to put a 60. And it's kind of saying is something, right? So I'm going to put an X here. Right, so I'm going to cross multiply. This says 60 times 8. Okay, that is 480. And X times 100 is just 100X. Okay, and if I divide both sides by 100, I get that X is equal to 4.8. Okay, so if I get rid of all of this right here and say instead this is all 4.8, that's the answer to that question. Now if I read it without the percent part, the 8% of 60, it says 4.8 is 1/5 of what number? So I'm going to set up the same thing. I'm going to say 4.8 is, so that's going to go on the top where the is, okay, 1/5 of what, right? It's kind of saying of I don't know. So I'm kind of saying the of part is unknown, okay? And on the other side, instead of a percent over 100, they gave us a fraction. So I'm going to write that fraction, okay? This can be written as a percent. 20 over 100 would be 20%. But instead of them presenting it like that, they presented it as a fraction. So, but it means the same thing, okay? So now if I cross multiply this one, it says x times 1. Well, that's x, okay? And then 5 times 4.8, which is 24. Okay, so we're going to say in this case the final answer to their question, letter C, 24. Okay, problem number 24, which I started already, okay, is going to be Armin is trying to decide whether to buy a season pass to his college basketball games, 20 home games. The cost of an individual ticket is $14, and the cost of the season pass is $175. Okay, he can go to any of the home games at no additional cost if he buys the season pass. And they want to know what is the minimum number of home games that he must attend in order for the cost of the season pass to be less than the cost of buying an individual ticket to each game, right? So you could mess with the calculator on this one. If I bring up my calculator one more time, right, here it is, right? I could just do $14 per ticket, right? And I can say 14, okay, times, okay, there it is, okay, 14 times, and I could say 7 games, okay? Let's see, and that's one of your options, right? So that's $98, okay? I could say, okay, that's too much. Let's try 14 times 12 and see if that works. That's $168. That's still less than my season pass. I could say 14 times 13, and I can see that's $182. At that point, my individual tickets are now more expensive than just buying that $175 season pass. So again, let's double check the question. It says, what is the minimum number he must attend for the cost of the season pass to be less than the cost of the games, right? So if we buy 13 season passes, or 13 tickets, okay, then the individual tickets will be more, which means that the season pass will be less. Okay, the cost of the season pass has to be less than the cost of buying tickets, right? And so we're going to say in this case that if we do 12 tickets, that will keep the cost of the game. Let's read this carefully, okay? Because what is the minimum number of home games that Armin must attend in order for the cost of the season pass to be less than the cost of buying an individual ticket? Okay, so they want the cost of the season pass to be smaller. Okay, in this case, that's another way of saying that is to say that the cost of the other tickets will be larger, and that would be when we get to 13 tickets. Okay, at 12 tickets, right, it's still going to be cheaper to buy the individual tickets. Okay, so that's why it's important to kind of reread some of those answers to make sure we're answering it the way that they're asking. Okay, problem number 25. Okay, this one is a scientific notation divided by a scientific notation. So let's kind of remind you about exponent rules, okay? When I'm dividing numbers, like let's kind of do something that's not a scientific notation. If I give you something like this, 3x squared on the bottom, and we have a 6x to the fourth on the top, right? What we would do with this is we would just divide the regular numbers. This is 6 divided by 3, which is 2, right? And then when I get to the exponent part of this, I'm going to subtract the exponent. So I'm going to say 4 minus 2, that makes this x squared, okay? So the regular numbers that are kind of out front just get divided normally, okay? The exponents get subtracted, right? So I'm going to, again, go to my calculator, let it do all the hard work. So let's bring it up, okay? And so on my calculator, it says, okay, we have to do 4.8 divided by 1.6, okay? And so that's going to be 4.8 divided by 1.6, okay? So that's 3, right? So I know my answer is 3.0, okay? Okay, and then for my exponents, I'm going to subtract the exponents. Be careful with this. See, 3.0, and then negative 7 is my first exponent. Okay, and from that, I'm going to subtract negative 11. Okay, so not negative 7 minus 11. The division bar, this fraction bar, is kind of the minus sign, so it's negative 7 minus negative 11. That is like adding 11, so the exponent's going to become 4, and this would be times 10 to the positive fourth power. So choice letter A. Notice they did have the kind of the negative 18 answer if you had subtracted. So be very careful with your subtracting of exponents, especially if there's negatives. Okay. All right. Problem 26. A circle in the standard XY coordinate plane has a center at negative 1, 2 and passes through 2, 6. Line segment AB is a diameter. What are the coordinates of point B? Okay. So again, let's draw a picture. Anytime there's a geometry problem, all right, let's draw a picture. Centers at negative 1, 2. Okay, and it's saying there's just some point and passes through A 2, 6. So there's just some point on the edge of the circle that is 2, 6. Okay, it doesn't matter if we're up and down into scale. We're just kind of putting it on the circle. Okay, so it says line AB. Okay, this is point C. This is point A, and they're saying there is a line AB that is going through the circle. The diameter starts on an end of the circle, in this case at A, right? Because it's called segment AB. It's going to travel through the center, okay? And it's going to end up on the other side of the shape, which is at point B, right? And so this is the diameter AB, okay? They're asking what are the coordinates of B in order to make this happen, okay? So again, we could do a lot of like algebra stuff, but here's the big idea. This line segment AB, point C, is the midpoint, okay? So in order to get from A to B, the distance from A to C and the distance from C to B has to be exactly the same. So here's how I'm going to figure this out. If I start off with this x coordinate and I go from 2 to negative 1, I'm going to count down 3 times, right? 2 to 1, 1 to 0, 0 to negative 1. That's 3 jumps. So if I do another 3 jumps from negative 4 to get to B, I'm going to go negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. So I know B's location has to be at negative 4 comma something. And if you notice, there's only one choice for that, right? So I could stop here and say, hey, it's H, and I can move on. Let's just verify, though. 6 going down to 2 is a decrease of 4, right? If I go down 4 more from 2, I'm going to go negative 1, 0, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2. There it is, right? So I'm getting the rest of that point, okay? So a quick way to kind of, when midpoint's involved, is just to kind of count your way from the starting location to the middle, and then count that same distance from the middle to the other side, because it's directly in the middle, so it has to be equal distances, okay? All right, problem 27, okay? Which of the following expressions is a factor of x cubed minus 64? Okay, this is what's called a difference of 2 cubes, and I know that because I can say x cubed, right, and 64 is 4 cubed, okay? So because I was able to write this binomial expression as cube minus cube, this is a difference of 2 cubes, okay? The formula for difference of 2 cubes says the following. If you have 2 things being cubed and you subtract them, here's how you're just going to break down. You're going to say A minus B, okay? And then the second factor is going to be A squared. If this is a minus sign, because this is a minus sign, I'm going to put a plus in the second one, right? It's 2AB, okay, plus B squared, okay? I'm sorry, just AB plus B squared, okay? Oop, too much. Let me get my smaller eraser out. Just AB, right? Just AB. There it is. Okay, so plus AB plus B squared. There it is. Okay, so this is the kind of standard form. So for our problem up here, all I care about is say, let's start off with, you know, the A minus B part. Well, the first thing that I cubed was X. The second thing I cubed was 4, right? Minus sign in between them. Well, hey, let's stop there. I have an answer. Which of the following expressions is a factor? X minus 4, right? So you could finish this and say, okay, it's, you know, X squared plus 4X, right? Plus 16, which is not an option, but I didn't really care because I already found my answer, right? So if you, again, can see it already, save yourself the time, 60 questions, 60 minutes, let's move on, okay? Number 28, the average of the list of 4 numbers is 90. The new list of 4 numbers has the same first 3 numbers as the original list, but the 4th number of the original list is 80. The 4th number of the new list is 96. what is the average of the new lists? Okay, so let's talk about average, right? Average is the mean, right? They call it the arithmetic mean. And so the way we do that is we say we're going to take the sum and divide it by the number of items that we're finding the average of, okay? Which in this case is 4 numbers, okay? So I know for this one, they tell us that the average is 90, right? So let's get rid of this line real quick. We're going to do a little math, okay? So what we know is that the average is going to be 90, and we also know for this problem that the total number of items that made this average was 4, right? So if I want to find out what the sum was that gave me 90, I'm going to solve this. If I multiply both sides by 4, the sum was 360, okay? So what they're claiming now is that the first 3 numbers are the same for some new average that I'm going to calculate over here, but the 4th number changed from an 80 to a 96, right? So my sum, instead of being 80, increased by 16, right? To go from 80 to 90, I went up by 16. So my new sum, which I'll write over here, is going to be 360 plus that extra 16, right? That looks like 376, okay? This is the sum that I'm then going to divide by the new 4 numbers, the original 3 plus 96, right? And so it looks like in this case, we're going to get, let's see if I can do this in my head, 9 times 4 makes 36, so it looks like it'll be a 94, okay? So my new sum is 94.0. That'll be the new average, okay? Problem number 29. We got 2 more in this video. Okay, so problem number 29, it says the number A is located at -2, 5 on the number line. One of the following number lines shows the location of a squared. Which number line is it? So if I'm going to say what is a squared, we need to square -2.5. Okay, so 2.5 times 2.5 is the number 6.25. And then the one thing you need to be really careful about is negative squared is negative times negative, and that makes this positive. So let me just show you something really quick and important on the calculator about this. Okay, if you typed in on the calculator, okay, negative 2.5 squared, let's see what happens. Okay, it's going to give you an answer of negative 6.25. Whenever you type in a negative number to be squared, it has to be in parentheses. So you really want to type in negative 2.5 squared. And if you notice, that one comes out to be a positive 6.25. If you're a little unsure when you get on the test and you say, I don't know which one of these to use, I don't remember where the parentheses go and whether the negative is inside or outside, you can also remember what squared means. It means multiply something by itself. So instead, I could just do negative 2.5 times negative 2.5, and I'll get the answer that I'm hoping for, right? So if you're unsure about how to type it in the calculator correctly, just don't do the squared version, just multiply it out, right? In either case, okay, positive 6.25 is a squared. So let's see if we can find that on one of these graphs. So obviously letter A is out and letter B is out. They are both negative, right? This one is, letter C is definitely out because that's somewhere between 2 and 3. That's out, right? This is 4, 5, 6, so that's out. And here's my 6.25. That's the one that's all the way past 6, just a little tiny bit, but not quite 7. Okay, last problem. Maria ordered a pizza. She ate only 2/9 of it and gave the remaining to her 3 brothers. What fraction of the whole pizza will each of Maria's brothers receive if they share the remaining pizza equally? Okay, so essentially what you're going to be doing here is you're going to be taking, if she ate 2/9 of the pizza, that means that there are 7/9 remaining. So I'm going to say that the remaining part, okay, is 7/9, right? Because 7/9 and 2/9, well, that would be 9/9, okay? That's the whole pizza, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide that 7/9 by the fact that there are 3 brothers, right? So if there were like, 6 slices of pizza and I divide that by 3, well, it's obvious that they get 2, right? So I'm doing the same thing. I'm just saying the pizza that they're going to get is not 6 slices, it's 7/9, whatever, 7/9 of the whole, right? So if I do this, remember, dividing by a number with fractions means multiplying by the reciprocal of that number. So instead I'm going to say 7/9 times, and instead of 3/1, I'm going to say 1/3, and that looks like it's going to be 7 on top when I multiply 7 times 1. 9 times 3 makes 27. It looks like each of them is going to get 7/27 of the whole original pizza. Okay, so again, this is the end of part 3. This took us to question number 30. We're officially at the halfway point. Okay, this will be a part of a playlist, so if you're using the playlist, it should automatically take you to problem number 31. If not, you can search for video number 4 for the ACT prep on the YouTube page and find part 4, which will start with number 31.